Hey, Mrparka here to review one released by Full Moon. This movie is made in 1970. It is a Hollywood horror house, aka Savage Intruder. Yeah, let's get into this one. This follows a story of kind of a strange man with mommy issues who becomes the caretaker of a famous kind of washed up actress who's a drunk who broke her leg. He kind of invades this house and he starts making demands and kind of takes over, kind of pushing the other people that take care of her aside and becomes a love interest of hers. You guys know this guy's a nutcase right off the bat. The movie opens up with a head underneath the dilapidated Hollywood sign of kind of an older woman, and you see that this guy is a psychopath killer. He is also an opportunist, and that's pretty much the whole plot of this film. Is we have this guy with mommy issues invading this space and kind of morphing, and he's a big psychopath, sociopath, kind of molds these people into doing what he wants. The film is interesting for the points that there's some really surreal flashbacks that kind of reminded me of something like A Nightmare in a Damaged Brain, but more surreal. Kind of studying this character of a psychopath, which I kind of liked. It got into his head a little bit. And the acting's really good. It actually stars a couple old starlets who had a name for themselves and did some pretty big movies back in the day. And so it's really strange to see these two in here. I'm not very familiar with their work. I'm not really very keen. I just don't know much about the 30s and 40s non-horror films. So yeah, it starts kind of these older actresses and they're really good in it. And yeah, that's how we start off. So a lot of the movie is him manipulating these women, especially the older woman, and having some sort of love story. But it also plays back to how old Hollywood is kind of, crumbling, and it's completely different and all sorts of things like that. But it's an interesting movie. Like I said, it gets into the characters' heads a lot, and it gets a little surreal and weird and crazy at the end, which I appreciated. The picture quality on the release is awful. It is in widescreen, but it looks like a VHS. A lot of the things you can kind of hardly tell what's going on. The movie doesn't seem that low budget. I'm sure it was low budget, but it doesn't seem like a complete crummy project or anything like that. Like there's interesting actors, there's interesting locations, it's interestingly shot, and there's some great surreal moments. When he flashes back to his mother, who he obviously was kind of a hussy, there's a scene where, slight spoilers, her hand gets cut off and the bottle of wine tips over and blood comes out of the wine. I just love that kind of, obvious, motif, not motif, but obvious comparison, simile. Just also kind of reminds me of how people remember things as well in their mind, or a damaged brain. So it has all that going for it. Like I said, it's pretty mean-spirited, and there's some moments of odd humor, as these kind of movies seemed to have in the time. A lot of the early 70s movies, think Last House on the Left had a couple moments of odd humor. There's just a few here and there. But yeah, it's a really weird movie, and it ends fairly downbeat. I actually felt sorry for a lot of the characters in here, and it's just kind of mean-spirited all-around flick, and it has these surreal psychedelic moments in it that are appreciated. So that's the Hollywood horror house. I like the title Savage Intruder a little bit better. I think it fits with the movie. Yeah, there's a introduction by a film historian on here, which kind of goes into the main actresses in the movies. He actually knew one of them and why she ended up being in this kind of, some people would consider schlocky horror movie, but also stating that it is a fairly interesting movie too, and even pointing out a cameo by one of the Three Stooges, not Larry, Curly, or Moe, or even Curly Joe, but just Joe, if you guys know the Three Stooges. There were 6 of them, but yeah, I'm not going to go on a tirade about the Three Stooges, but yeah, that was also pretty cool to see a lot of this stuff and learn a little bit about maybe old Hollywood in the process. I'm Mrparka. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good one.
I know you're there.